Well, India has fired a fresh salvo in its growing diplomatic rift with Canada. The spokesperson for the country's External Affairs Ministry says the onus lies on Ottawa to curb what it calls terrorism and to stop providing a safe haven for separatist activities.
If there is any country, if you're talking about reputational issues and reputational damage, if there's any country that needs to look at this, I think it is Canada and its growing reputation as a place, as a safe haven for terrorists, for extremists, and for organized crime. And I think that's the country that needs to worry about it.
New Delhi also confirming temporarily suspending visa services in Canada, adding that the inaction by Canadian authorities is creating an environment that disrupts the functioning of high commissions.
The issue is not about travel to India. The question is not about travel to India. Those who have valid visas, those who have other kind of documents like OCIs are free to travel to India. But the issue is of incitement to violence, the inaction by the Canadian authorities, and a creation of an environment that disrupts the functioning of our High Commission and consulates. That's what's making us stop temporarily this issuance of visas or providing visa services. And as I said, we will be reviewing the situation on a regular basis.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said authorities are investigating, quote, credible allegations that Indian government agents were involved in the June murder of Sikh separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. India has categorically denied the claims. The White House also chipping in on this matter, saying it is, quote, deeply concerned about the allegations while encouraging India to cooperate in any investigation. Rebecca Bunton joins us live from Mumbai. Rebecca, India also addressing Canada's claim of security issues for its diplomats in the country. What has it said?
Yes, so that's right. So India actually talked about, the Indian Foreign Ministry talked about the fact that there needed to be parity between the number of diplomats that Canada and India have. And it said that Canada actually has a greater diplomatic presence in India. So it said it's calling on Canada to reduce those numbers, or it plans to call on Canada to actually reduce those numbers. And then we also heard from the Canadian High Commission earlier in the day that was saying that it was looking at this adjustment, and it actually said that its diplomats had been facing threats on social media, and it cited that as a reason. But India itself talked about the fact that it was up to the host country to actually provide security for staff, which it could, if it potentially faced any kind of threats. In Canada, it talked about the fact that it was a security situation there for India, and that's the reason it gave for work being disrupted, and the fact that visas have had to be temporarily suspended for Canadian citizens because staff there can't actually do the work it's suggested. But India also talking about the importance of providing security. Let's have a listen to what the spokesperson from the ministry had to say.
Our obligations of Vienna Conventions very seriously, and if there are specific threats and things, I'm sure they are in touch with our security agencies, and we will certainly providing all security and all support to foreign diplomats in India. We would accordingly also expect that the Canadian authorities show similar sensitivity to posters threatening assassination and incitement to violence against our diplomats, attacks on our premises, or such kind of threats, and take their obligations under the Vienna Conventions a little more seriously.
Rebecca, earlier we mentioned the US adding its voice to this matter, but very carefully. It's not condemning anyone, just encouraging India to cooperate with any investigation. What does this row, what would it mean for India's ties with other Western countries?
Well, this diplomatic row really puts a lot of Western countries in a very awkward position. This comes as well after the G20, which India hosted, and a lot of countries don't seem to, or some of the big players don't really want to seem to wade into this row between India and Canada, including, it seems the US has talked about the fact that it's deeply concerned and that India should participate. It urges India to participate in any kind of investigation that's carried out. But countries are clearly in a difficult position because India has become part of this balancing act as Western nations try to push back against China. And India has become increasingly important in the region. Countries, including the United States, countries in Europe have been really trying to develop their ties increasingly with India as it plays this important role in the region. And that's really putting countries in a very, very difficult position. We heard from India as well, from the foreign ministry, that it talked about conversations that it had with countries without really giving any details. But clearly this is a really difficult matter for several countries to deal with at the moment. And they're trying to figure out how to handle this too.
Thanks for that, Rebecca Bundan, live from Mumbai.